The first thing I saw was the gun. Not the flashing blue lights reflecting against the restaurant windows, not the frightened waitress dropping a tray of sweet tea onto the hardwood floor. The gun. It was aimed directly at the man sitting across from me. "Sir, keep your hands where I can see them." If you're enjoying this story, welcome to Tell Me More. Pour yourself a cup because this story is about to get interesting. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more unforgettable stories. Now, let's find out why the police stormed what should have been the happiest first date of my life. The command echoed through the dining room of Magnolia Room, one of Memphis's oldest restaurants. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. Conversations disappeared. A pianist froze with his fingers still resting on the keys. Someone gasped behind me. I couldn't move. This was supposed to be my first date in 38 years. Instead, two Memphis police officers were surrounding the retired Army veteran who'd spent the last 2 hours making me laugh so hard I nearly cried. Daniel Brooks slowly raised his hands. He never argued, he never stood up. He simply looked at me with eyes filled with something I couldn't understand. Regret, not fear. Regret. "I am so sorry, Evelyn," he said quietly. His voice remained calm, almost gentle. "Whatever happens next, don't let tonight convince you that there aren't still good people left." Before I could ask what he meant, an officer grabbed his shoulder. Another reached toward the handcuffs on his belt. Every person in the restaurant stared at us. Some had already lifted their phones to record. My face burned with embarrassment. The same thought kept repeating inside my head. Linda was right. My daughter had begged me not to go. "Mom," she had said 3 nights earlier, "you've never even met this man. You're 61, not 16. People pretend to be someone they're not." I laughed then. Now, I wished I had listened. 7 days earlier, if someone had told me I would be sitting across from a stranger in a restaurant after 38 years of marriage, I would have laughed in their face. After Harold died, I stopped believing life had any surprises left for me. Harold and I had met when I was 22. He was loud, funny, always singing off-key while fixing things around the house. He drove me crazy, but he made me feel safe. Then, one ordinary Tuesday morning, he kissed my forehead before leaving for work. By lunchtime, he was gone. A massive heart attack. No warning, no goodbye. One phone call erased the future we had planned together. The silence that followed became my new companion. For 7 years, I learned how to eat alone, sleep alone, celebrate birthdays alone. I buried myself in work as a middle school English teacher until retirement finally forced me to confront something I had spent years avoiding: loneliness. Not the kind you admit to your friends at church, the kind that followed you home, the kind that waited inside an empty house, the kind that sat beside you while you watched television, reminding you there was nobody to laugh with. People kept telling me I should get out more, join clubs, travel, meet someone. Easy advice from people who still had someone waiting for them at home. Then one Saturday afternoon, I wandered into Burke's bookstore near Cooper Street, mostly because I didn't want to spend another afternoon talking to my plants. I was standing in the history section, pretending to be interested in Civil War biographies, when a man's voice interrupted my thoughts. I've been trying to decide whether that book is worth buying for 10 minutes. I turned around. Tall, gray beard, kind eyes. He held a mystery novel in one hand and looked almost as uncomfortable as I felt. "I don't think it's the book you're struggling with," I replied. "I think you're trying to work up the courage to start a conversation." His face turned bright red. Then he laughed. A real laugh, not the polite kind people use with strangers. I've been out of practice. So have I. That was how it started. No dramatic music, no fireworks. Just two people admitting life had made them rusty. Daniel had served 26 years in the Army before retiring. He volunteered at a Veterans Resource Center 3 days a week. He loved old jazz records, collected fountain pens, and confessed he still couldn't cook anything more complicated than grilled cheese. "I tried making lasagna once," he admitted over coffee. "The smoke alarm deserved a medal." I laughed harder than I had in years. By the time we finished our second cup, he asked if I would have dinner with him the following Friday. I said yes before fear had time to answer for me. Linda hated the idea. "Mom, you don't know anything about this man." "I know enough. You know what he chose to tell you. That's true of everyone." She folded her arms. "You've been alone for so long, I don't want someone taking advantage of that." Her concern came from love. I knew that. After Harold died, Linda became fiercely protective. She checked my bank statements, installed cameras outside my house, insisted I share my phone location. Sometimes I wondered whether she had become the parent and I had become the child. "I'm just having dinner," I reminded her. "I'm not moving him into the guest room." She smiled despite herself. "Promise you'll call me afterward." "I promise." Friday arrived. I spent nearly an hour deciding what to wear, not because I wanted to impress Daniel, because I had forgotten what it felt like to hope someone might be happy to see me. When I looked in the mirror, I saw wrinkles I'd never noticed before, silver strands around my temples, hands that had graded thousands of student essays. For one terrible moment, I almost canceled. Who starts dating at 61? Then another voice answered inside me. Someone who still has life left to live. So I picked up my purse, locked the front door, and drove to the restaurant. Daniel was already waiting. He stood as soon as he saw me. "You look beautiful." Nobody had called me beautiful in 7 years. The words settled somewhere deep inside me. Dinner felt effortless. We talked about books, music, teaching, military life. The strange realization that growing older made small moments matter more than expensive ones. For the first time since Harold's death, I wasn't thinking about what I had lost. I was paying attention to what was right in front of me. Then the front doors burst open, blue lights flashed through the windows, and everything changed. The dining room was so quiet I could hear the ice melting in my untouched glass of tea. One officer kept his hand on Daniel's shoulder. The other stared down at the photograph in his hand, then back at Daniel, then back at the photograph. His confident expression slowly disappeared. "I'm sorry," the younger officer said. He lowered the photograph. "This isn't the man." For several seconds, nobody moved. The older officer looked at Daniel, then at me. "Our apologies, sir." Just like that. The tension that had gripped the restaurant dissolved into awkward silence. The officers stepped away. One quietly explained that witnesses had reported seeing a man matching the description of an armed robbery suspect enter the restaurant. The resemblance was close enough that they acted immediately. It wasn't Daniel, not even close. After another apology, they turned and walked out, leaving behind dozens of embarrassed strangers pretending they hadn't been watching every second. The restaurant slowly came back to life. Conversations returned in hushed whispers. The pianist cautiously resumed playing, but something had changed, not in the room, inside me. I looked at Daniel. He wasn't angry. He wasn't demanding an apology. He simply sat there staring at his untouched coffee. "You knew they weren't here for you," I finally whispered. He nodded. "I hoped they weren't." I frowned. "What does that mean?" Daniel looked toward the window where the flashing lights had disappeared into the Memphis night. "Because sometimes," he said softly, "life teaches you not to be surprised when people mistake you for someone else." We left the restaurant together. Neither of us was ready to go home. Across the street, the Mississippi River reflected the city lights like scattered pieces of silver. We walked slowly along the riverfront. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. "There's something I never told you." I figured. He smiled sadly. 23 years ago, I testified in federal court. I stopped walking. He continued.
I was stationed overseas with a logistics unit. During an investigation into military supply theft, I discovered someone inside our operation was stealing equipment and selling it on the black market. You reported it? I had to. His voice remained steady, but I could hear the weight beneath it. Several people were arrested. What happened after that? My wife hated what it did to our lives. Daniel looked toward the river. She never blamed me for doing the right thing. He paused, but she hated always looking over her shoulder. His wife had passed away 9 years ago after battling breast cancer. Since then, he had lived quietly. No headlines, no recognition. Just a man trying to make peace with the choices he had made decades ago. So when the police walked in tonight, he nodded. For 1 second, I wondered if somehow my past had finally caught up with me. I reached for his hand. This time, he didn't hesitate. The next morning, Linda was waiting on my porch before I even pulled into the driveway. She rushed toward me. "Mom!" "I'm fine. I saw a video online." "What?" She held up her phone. Someone from the restaurant had recorded the entire police encounter. The video had already spread across social media. Thousands of comments, hundreds of strangers deciding who Daniel was before knowing anything about him. One comment read, "See? This is why older women shouldn't trust strange men." Another said, "He looks guilty." Another, "She almost got herself killed." Linda looked furious. "I'm reporting every one of these." I gently lowered her phone. "Don't." "Mom, they don't know us." "But it isn't fair." "No, it isn't." I surprised myself with how calm I sounded. For years, I had worried about what people thought. Widows become experts at living inside other people's expectations. Too soon to date, too old to date, too lonely, too independent, too emotional, too cautious. Everybody had an opinion. Very few had walked in my shoes. "I'm not letting strangers write the ending of my story," I said. 3 days later, Daniel called. "I understand if you'd rather not see me again." His words hurt more than I expected. "What makes you think that?" "Because your first date with me ended with police officers pointing guns." I laughed. A real laugh. "I've had worse dinners." He laughed too. "I was hoping you might say that." We decided to start over. Nothing fancy, just breakfast at a small cafe in Midtown. No expensive restaurant, no expectations, no pressure. Only pancakes, coffee, and honesty. It turned out the second date was far better than the first. Without the excitement, we discovered something deeper. We both knew what grief looked like. We both understood loneliness. We both knew how strange it felt to begin again after believing life had already happened. There was no pretending, no games, no need to impress each other. Just two people choosing courage over fear. Months passed. Spring became summer, then autumn. Our routines slowly intertwined. Saturday morning farmers markets, church on Sundays, volunteer work at the Veterans Center. Book club meetings where Daniel insisted on bringing homemade cookies that somehow became edible after several failed attempts. One afternoon, I found myself standing in my garden while Daniel repaired the loose gate Harold had always meant to fix. He looked up. "What?" I realized I had been smiling without knowing it. "Nothing." "You sure?" "I just forgot happiness could be this quiet." He walked over and took my hand. "I think that's the best kind." Exactly 1 year after our disastrous first date, Daniel asked me to return to the same restaurant. The hostess recognized us immediately. "So glad tonight is less exciting," she joked. We laughed. This time, there were no flashing lights, no frightened whispers, no phones recording strangers, only candlelight, soft music, and two people who almost allowed one frightening moment to keep them apart. Halfway through dessert, Daniel reached into his jacket pocket. He didn't pull out a ring. He pulled out 2 tickets. "Where are we going?" "New Orleans." "For what?" "Because last year, our story almost ended before it began." He smiled. I think we've earned a better adventure. Tears filled my eyes, not because of the trip, because of everything it represented. At 61, I believed my happiest memories were behind me. At 62, I understood something completely different. Life doesn't stop offering second chances. People do. Sometimes fear disguises itself as wisdom. Sometimes grief convinces you that loving again somehow betrays the person you lost. It doesn't. Love doesn't replace love. It simply makes room beside it. As we walked out of the restaurant hand in hand, I glanced at the front entrance where 2 police officers had once changed the course of an ordinary evening. For months, I thought that night was the worst first date imaginable. Now, I knew better. It was the night life asked me a question. Would I let one frightening moment decide the rest of my story? For the first time in years, my answer was easy: no. Because some of the most beautiful chapters begin exactly where we almost walk away.